I grew up in Ohio and went to school at the University of Cincinnati, and I have a degree in English. The way I found my way to journalism was I had initially thought that I wanted to be a book editor, and then my advisor suggested that I look into technical writing. And so as I was working on that certificate, I had to take copy editing and realized that journalism in general, but copy editing specifically sounded interesting and kind of what I wanted to do because I always kind of enjoyed helping people do better with their writing. The nice thing about being a journalist is that most of your colleagues are fairly woke, if you will. Like, they're aware of like how misogyny hurts and how like being openly sexist is not appropriate, and it's just not the way that people act anymore. So like it's really uncommon in my experience as a journalist that that's something that happens. I will say it's not, it definitely does happen. Like a lot of the Me Too movement that we saw was like that, I think I remember that there was like a photo editor at the New York Times or something that was fairly not cool to women photographers. But for my purposes, it was never really like out and out, like you're a woman, you can't do this. It was more just the general the way that being a woman feels. There was a time when my role probably would have been filled by a man only, but we're past that. And I would say even there may have been times when it was reporting and photographing was seen more as men's work, because depending on what your beat is, you have to be willing to like go out and like knock on people's doors and just be wherever the news is, which sometimes is like an active crime scene as it's unfolding. And then also with photographers, sometimes you're putting yourself into like possibly dangerous situations, let's say. And so I think that there was a time when it was thought that it wasn't a proper profession for women, also because you have to ask a lot of questions and like kind of stand up for yourself and things like that. But it's not that way anymore at all. Like, it's not like women are relegated to writing feature stories only or only writing about schools. It's more spread out, and the more women prove that they can do anything a man can do, journalism has really kind of come right along with that. I think it's less common to see women in certain roles that are not in this newsroom, like war correspondents, but I know that there are female war correspondents, so I think it's just one of those things that's like changing as the world changes. I feel like I'm being paid fairly, and I don't necessarily think that they thought they could pay me less because I was a woman when I started here. And I definitely, at my last paper, I got good raises and stuff when, as much as they could. But this goes back to the same thing where journalism has changed a lot in that we're still trying to figure out the business model and how it works, that advertising doesn't pay the bills the way it once did. So I'd like to think that gender parity is getting better, but I can see, I know it's not overall in the entire country. I want to think that journalism is getting more gender agnostic, but I can't say I definitely know that it is. Say, don't be afraid to go for anything that you want, and don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something. Especially, a lot of times people will be trying to tell you not to do something out of concern for your safety, and while there's value in keeping your personal safety in mind when you're doing a job, there's ways to keep yourself safe. And I would just say, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. There's an epidemic happening now for both men and women who are journalists, where people try to tell you something's not a story, or that they're gonna try really hard to keep you from getting the information you need to do the story fully. So that's where where you really need to be ready to stand up for yourself and not feel chained down by society's expectation that women who present as women are nice.